Hello everyone, this is Kavita Singh, co-founder of Identity1st. Welcome to our new episode of Leaders Speak. Today we have with us Mr. Ravi Bhushan, Chief Information Security Officer of Wibmo, a PayU company and a leading fintech. Welcome Ravi to Leaders Speak. Thank you so much for joining us, and would like to start with if you can take us through your journey of the last 22 years. How has been it, how you started and how today you are a CISO of Wibmo, a PayU company, a leading fintech. So if you can take us through, it will be very, very nice.
So thanks a lot, Kavita, for giving this opportunity to engage and interact. Certainly, for last 22 years was quite engaging, quite challenging. I started with IBM as a software engineer, worked in Bangalore, IBM, as well as in US. Later, I moved to KPMG in IT advisory practice in India as well as in UK. My focus in KPMG was to drive IT attestation service line across India. And I used to manage one of the key clients of KPMG doing their SAS 70 program for their global setup. After that, I moved to Barclays in the internal audit function and stayed there for a few years. And then later, I took a lot of roles within Barclays. For example, I moved to Q office as a strategic initiative to drive streamlining their regulatory reporting process. This was one of the hot topic when RBI asked all the banks to automate the regulatory reporting mechanism. Stayed there for a few years, and then I became a project manager for migration of core banking application. This was again a big task at that point in time for the bank to move away from a legacy core banking solution to the new core banking solution. And later, I became the CISO for Barclays for India business in Mumbai. I also had a additional responsibility for head of technology risk, and stayed there for a year and a half, and then I moved to Pune to set up a function within the Pune Barclays Global Service Center in the space of cybersecurity and technology risk to support APAC region and the US. So this was 10 years of Barclays, and after that I decided to have a exposure or flavor of fintech, which is the buzzword these days. So since almost 3 years, I've been working with Wibmo, which is a PayU company. There I'm working as CISO. I'm also responsible for the privacy aspect to a large extent. So it's been quite a challenging time. And as you know, the cybersecurity space is evolving every day, every moment, and that keeps us, busy all the time.
So, in the current scenario, do organizations, treat cybersecurity as a business responsibility or an IT responsibility?
So it all depends on the maturity of the organization. Of course, the large organization do understand that yes, it is a business responsibility. And with the threat vector evolving, even the small organization fintechs are realizing because if something goes wrong, it impacts the business. So yes, there's a organization which are on the maturity curve. They are realizing this, and slowly the transition is happening. But yes, a large organization, that level of maturity is there, and there are a lot of business folks involved from the day one. Having said that, the whole industry is maturing in this space, and in the current law of the land, RBI is also focusing across various streams because there are a lot of regulations have come even for fintechs. So as I mentioned in one of the earlier discussion that the honeymoon period for fintechs are over. So yes, the maturity, everyone is going ahead on the maturity curve.
So that comes to my third question. Do organizations need to focus on security compliance or security capability?
So again, I will answer it the way I answered previous one. The mature organization understand that the compliance is an outcome of capability. So they are not driven by compliance. So the focus is on enhancing security capability, which helps us to be compliant. But smaller organizations are triggered by compliance, and then they develop the capability. And as I said, everyone is in the maturity curve. on this particular space as well, organizations are on the maturity curve. And having said that, the ideal space would be that enhance the capability so that compliance is just an outcome of that.
How do the third party partners are securing, organizations' most valuable information, and what will be the ideal way for organizations to secure the same?
So first of all, the important thing to understand and realize that what information that you are passing to the third-party organizations, right? And many a time you will also have to take a consent from your client, right? Because ultimately it is any organization is a custodian of the information of the from where that information is coming from, right? So that's one thing, is to get a consent from the client that we are passing this information to a third party for business reason. And depending on upon the nature of the information being passed upon, right? There are two aspects. One is that at the time of inception of the third party, when we are being started engaging, there has to be exhaustive due diligence in terms of their capability to serve us in a smoother way and a sustainable way. And in that process, their financial capability comes into the picture, their information security and the privacy security risk posture comes into the picture, that how they are equipped to responsibly handle our information. So for that, we usually send them a questionnaire, and if required, we also do perform the audit ourselves. And there are a lot of independent assessment being carried out, a lot of certification, whether it's ISO certification, PCI, and independent assessment by big fours like SOC 2, and also those reports we ask them to provide. We evaluate it, and accordingly we understand that the control maturity level at their end, and that gives us either comfort that okay, our information is safe, and if not, then we have to agree a plan with them, is that by what is the timeline by which they will be fully compliant, so which gives us a comfort that our informations are handled with responsibility at their end. So one is that at the inception side. Second is at the time of periodically assessing the partners for all these risk assessment. For example, if some partner is very critical, then we may end up doing it annually. Whatever we exercise that we have performed at the beginning, that we would be end up doing it annually. If someone is less critical, maybe we can do once in 2 years. So the same exercise, due diligence, exhaustive risk assessment, we need to repeat based on the criticality of the vendor to ensure that that partner can provide services to us in a sustainable manner, right? So these are the mechanisms, available that we usually deploy to get the comfort, and also the last but not the least, the reference check, the set of customers that they are providing services, we ask them to provide the reference check, and we speak to their other set of customers to understand what's going on. So these are the mechanisms that usually apply to to get the comfort and that how responsibly our information is treated at their side.
How often are the executives and the board informed of the organization's cyber capability and any attacks or data breach risk?
See, these days it's quite, I'd say regular, because in my previous organization as well as here, I run a monthly steering committee, which for all the matters pertaining to security and privacy, right? And all senior executives are part of that. So at least monthly, anywhere that happens. Apart from that, on the need basis, there are regular conversation keeps happening on a weekly basis as well. So because the speed is the essence in cybersecurity, so something sometimes you have to really act with a very fast pace. You can't wait for a week or a month for that meeting to happen. So it's an ongoing engagement. But yes, there are fewer structures placed, weekly, monthly, but it's always it's a hotline set of executives connected to ensure that something requires attention immediately. We deal with that pace of time.
Coming to my next question, is the strategy for the next 3 years aligned to the business strategy nowadays?
It has to be. I mean, it has to be because for various reasons. I'll give you one example. Is that we went for PCI DSS 4.0 first time. I think we are the very few fintechs with more to get this kind of certification, right? So I had to put this in my strategy. Last year itself, I had to put this in my strategy that we would be, doing this, right? And a lot of clients also ask about that. How is your strategy is aligned with your expansion plan and all those things, right? So this is no longer a luxury. I would say this is a need of the hour that. For to meet the business growth in a sustainable way, right? The cyber strategy has to be fully aligned, with the business strategy. Like when we want to go for, European region, so we have already done a GDPR assessment, right? So almost 2 years back, we have done the GDPR assessment to assess our readiness, so it has to be, it's already there for us, and but in general also to sustain in the marketplace, it has to be there.
So it's a necessity today. It's like
Necessity. This is a necessity. It's no longer a luxury. Necessity. Yes.
Yeah. Great. So now coming to my next question, has the business specifically identified the most important information collected and held by the business and the level of protection expected for the information?
Yeah, so I think I would again answer this question between the large organization and the organization which are maturing. So, of course, the big MNCs, banks, of course, they have a different departments. Like they have a data officer, chief data officers to deal with this kind of thing. But a small organization is, we are doing it. But we may not find that sort of organizational structure, through which it will be very visible. Okay, that set of person or department are doing it, but yes, we need to do that, and we are doing it. That all our data, our crown jewel, has to be identified. That have to be identified, and accordingly the level of protection to be applied. And we cannot apply the same level of protection to the entire data set or information set as well, because there's a cost involved, right? So we need to identify the critical assets or which are less critical, so that we focus more on the securing the most critical crown jewels in the organization.
I would like to ask a question like, what are the top security concerns of organizations today? Is it ransomware? Is it data exfiltration, or compromised identity or unauthorized access? So, what do you think today? Organizations are struggling with the CISOs nightmare today. What is keeping them awake?
Yeah. So. I think all those you mentioned are important. Like, of course, it starts with budget allocation. I would say that is the most challenging task that all the CISOs are facing today. That they need to adequately plan their spend and ensure that they get the budget from the CEO and the CFO. Well ahead of the execution, well ahead of moving on to the execution part. So that is one thing, the foremost important thing. And then comes, of course, the perimeter security, identity, broken access, unauthorized access, especially in this, after the COVID, when work from home has started, right? A lot of information we have on the cloud. There's a new threat vector or the attack surface evolved, because you have we transitioned from our conventional LAN environment to the cloud, right? More, and of course we were there before COVID as well, but it happened more. So the securing the resources on the cloud as well as on the on-premise, that also became an important task, which is a new task to handle. And for that, again, there are a lot of solutions like CASB, which is the cloud access security broker, and all those are available, which we had to deal with that to ensure that our complete infrastructure is secure. And of course, apart from we discussed ransomware, again, it's a very important aspect because something goes wrong, if everything is stopped, right? So the ability to recover, at the time of something of that sort happens, right? And this is more relevant for fintechs and smaller companies because you can't afford to pay millions, if something goes wrong. So the ability to recover if something goes wrong of that nature, it's very important. So testing it periodically, ensuring that we have a resilient infrastructure, that's very important. And other aspect is that as a CISO, everyone have to not see what's happening inside the organization. Always have to be watch out what's happening around, what new threat vectors are evolving.
Right.
And then you have to see where I stand or my organization stands. So it's like your attention has to be widely spread at what's happening around the world and then inward. So it has to keep shuffling, to ensure that the adequate attention are given to the right thing, the relevant things in the marketplace, because like AI thing has come up, right? A lot of things people are using AI for right reason. People are also using AI to a large extent, right? And even these are AI is being used, to do some sort of attacks and all, and it's very efficient. If whether you do it for right reason or wrong reason, it's quite efficient, right? So one has to be really think ahead what's happening, and need to have a clear-cut assessment and awareness and education to the management that look, these are the risks, new list set of risks evolving. We need to do something. So that sort of awareness to the board is also important. In nutshell, looking what's happening around and then assessing yourself. If there's a need to enhance the security, raising awareness to the board, getting proper funding, implementing. So, and this is apart from all BAU work. So it's quite hectic, challenging, and we have to work on multiple threads at one point in time because security at times is a boring job, I would say, because if you're securing, then it's your job. But if you miss out, then you have to do right. So that's why it says that bad actors need to be right once, but we have to be right all the time, right? So it's challenging and hectic as well.
It's quite a strenuous job, actually, and at the same time, quite I think what keeps you all going is more excitement as well.
Precisely.
Now, coming to my next question, in your cloud security program, what are some of the gaps that you're facing?
So, as I said, during COVID time, once people started working on hybrid model, so and usually most of the organization moved from their on-prem to the cloud or like a hybrid setup kind of thing, right? So one of the key challenges at that point in time to how adequately secure your hybrid structure, right? People will still talk from the on-prem to cloud and vice versa, right? Because those who are fully on cloud, they have their own set of security program. Those who are fully on-prem, they have their own set. But when you're combining both, you have to have a very robust and balanced setup or mechanism to ensure security of that. So at that point in time, we went for CASB solution to tighten the security across the infrastructure. So that was one of the key challenges we had, which we dealt with. Right? And of course, the rest of the challenges are, common for any of the, and whether it's on-prem or cloud. So, it's a business as usual to ensure the security of the entire infrastructure. But that was one of the key challenges when organizations move from to a hybrid or fully on cloud to transition the security mechanism as well, and which we dealt with the CASB program.
With the identity and access management also playing a key role and a major role in the entire security landscape, what exactly do you think are the key IAM challenges today that any CISO faces, especially in a fintech?
See, first of all is discovery of the identity, who are accessing. First, you should know, right? Because any restriction, any correction, you can apply only once you know, right? So, having a complete view of the entire setup, and especially the legacy ones, the ones which are supposed to be decommissioned, right? Which usually gets less attention, but is still from the risk perspective, still carries the same sort of level of risk, right? So having a full universe of the entire infrastructure and seeing who is accessing from where, so that we have a complete view, the 360-degree view of our infra, complete tech stack, and then performing a review, one-time review. There's a concept called a stock and flow, that you clean up once, set up a process to handle the ongoing basis. That's a flow. So deal it in a manner of a stock and flow, that one-time cleanup if you have not done before, and then put a process, periodic assessment of all identities and access to ensure that particular process is sustainable.
I can understand, well, human identities are still controllable to a great extent. How do you ensure, or how do you protect the non-human identities, the tags, that can be observed from there? So what about the non-human identity? What is it like? How do you all protect that aspect of it?
I mean, the concept remains the same, that in your infra, who is accessing, right? So whether someone is a human user or or it's a non-human users, right? Or the application talk to each other. So how the connections, who all are accessing, right? Because when we do periodic user access review, right? We know this one person, this is the name of the person through which the ID is created. There's a second set of some application is accessing this particular database. So it should be it's anyway part of the complete list of the accesses, So it has to go through the similar level of processes, of whether it's a JML processes or you may not call it JML in exact terms, but when the ID is created, it has to go through the proper approval process, and then periodically also when you're reviewing it, it has to go through the similar process. Apart from that, there are some controls you can apply, because some ID is trying to access the system at the time where usually it don't access. For example, that particular application talks to to us only from 9 to 5, for example, but suddenly at some particular day you see that it is trying to access in the midnight. So that anomalies, you can define a setting to identify those anomalies and see what's happening. So it's like a behavioral aspect, right? The way for humans also you do a behavior analysis. Likewise, from the system perspective, you can also apply, because behind the system there is someone human who is triggering that, right? So
right.
So the behavioral aspect also comes to the picture. Like simple example, that when you first time I went to for China, when I swiped my credit card, it got blocked, but because it was not aligned with my behavior, I never been to. But next time onwards, it didn't block, right? So
Right.
So so that behavioral analysis also goes hand in hand to identify whether it's anomalies or it's a regular behavior.
Right. Now, Ravi, we all know about the last pass in the Circle CI breaches, which saw the source code and the data theft through compromised identities and access. This trend is called, like by many companies, a shadow access. It has been named as the unauthorized or unmonitored or invisible to cloud assets. How do you think about shadow access and to your cloud?
See, simple. Shadow access, the whole concept comes, when the complete universe of your infra is not complete, right? If your entire infrastructure, which all infra components in our tech stack, which all components are being accessed by internally or by outside, right? If that is complete, then there's nothing called shadow access, right? Because if that part is not clear, then maybe there's some, as I said in the beginning, right? There's some legacy application you're about to decommission, and which gets less attention, from your regular day-to-day activity, and then it misses out, right? And that's where something goes wrong, right? So as long as your universe of the entire technology stack is up to date, and you have one has a full visibility of what's happening on which component, right? And until it is fully decommissioned, it's not decommissioned. Right? When it is about to get decommissioned, still has to be part of our universe, right? When it is done and dusted, then only it goes out. Otherwise, it's not. So for that, it's important to have some sort of a tool or some mechanism that you track your assets clearly, that which asset is at what stage of their life cycle, right? Some sort of tool mechanism, uh, you know, service now people use, and a lot of tools available, so there has to be some mechanism to effectively track your assets, so that you know which asset is at what stage of the life cycle, so that then this problem won't arise. When there's a lot of manual driven things, certain things are just not clearly tracked at what stage it is, and that's where it missed out. So it's better to have an automated mechanism, some sort of tools, so that nothing misses out. So that is the key thing.
And how do you manage your security priorities while supporting the digital business initiatives of your cloud or DevOps team?
See, it's like these days a concept called security by design, privacy by design, right? So whatever you do, ensure that the entire, even at the inceptions, like a lot of teams comes out to us, to review their design at the earliest stage, right? And that time itself, we correct it, that this should be, the way the whole architecture should be in line with the security standards. Then there's no challenge, at the later stage. There's no surprises. So having security by design, and as I said, right, India Data Protection Act is also passed by Parliament. So privacy, of course, from an Indian context, also picking it up, though a lot of organizations are dealing with the open market, and so they are already compliant with GDPR and all. Having said that, security by design, privacy by design, these principles has to be embedded in the DNA of the organization. Whatever you do, security and privacy needs to be thought through at the beginning itself. Then this sort of problem will not come. No. Wherever we do not have a security by design and privacy by design, then you have to fix it at the later stage, and then it becomes a challenge. So we need
to. It has to be, right from the foundation. It has to be.
Yeah. So if all digital initiative has to be aligned with security by design and privacy by design, then we will not have any surprises. And because of the cost of correction is also, very high. Something you have, your architecture itself will not be able to do, certain things. So better to build an architecture at the earliest stage which caters to all security requirements and privacy requirements, so that you are at peace, others are also at peace.
So coming to my next question, what are the top learnings from 2023 and what will be the top predictions for 2024?
Okay, the first question is easier. The second one will be tougher, but we'll try to answer. So, learning from 2023, if I have to refresh my memory, we need to think ahead of what's going on. Otherwise, catching the pace at the last minute, too much of hush and rush, it doesn't help anyone, right? And we also want to have a motivated team. We are not only here to secure organization. We're also building a human capability for tomorrow, right? So, which is the second part of this sometimes missed out in the larger organizational priorities, right? So we need to have a balanced way, think ahead, plan properly, so that we execute it in a timely manner. We contribute to the organization as well as to the human resources who are behind, right? Because we have to build leaders for tomorrow, not just doing work today, right? So that's one key learning, I would say. And of course, and cybersecurity, you have to be alert all the time. I mean, that's goes all the time. But yeah, as I said, we need to contribute to the organization and also build leaders for tomorrow. That's one key learning for 2023. Prediction for 2024: this entire cybersecurity world is unpredictable. so, so,
That's
you know,
that's a very interesting response. And very apt response.
yeah, so predicting would be tough, but point is that we need to have whatever known risks are there, let's have a plan to deal with it, deal with those risks, and always have some buffer to deal with unknown, right? Because you do not know what will come where. So whether it's additional budget, additional resources to deal with unknown, but whatever is known, we should have a structured plan so that everything goes in a smooth way. And this is the department which is like a gatekeeper, right? So this department cannot go wrong. It has to think through, do it well. So yeah, for known risk, to sum up, have a structured plan and also have provision to deal with unknown risk.
And one more question, this is the final question for you. Which areas would continue to pose challenges to security leaders in 2024? And how will the relationship between the CISO and the board and the executive leadership team change?
See, the entire cybersecurity is challenging. but I think the key challenge would be for any of the CISOs today is that when you realize there's something as a threat, right? And there may not be much occurrence for you to have an example, but with your experience that something is a challenge, something could pose challenge. Translating it into a business case, right? And asking a funding from the management, that's become a challenge. Because there's not much occurrence of it. You can't quote, and the world thinks that things have been working so well so far, so it will work,
right?
Which is the biggest myth. And at times, I know many of the CISOs are under stress because they know that something may go wrong, but this community is not able to, because there's not much examples also available, right, to convince the board that this is something really important and we need money quickly. That is the key challenges, and with the threat vectors evolving and all those things. As I said in the previous question, that there has to be some money and some budget and resources kept to use or handle the unknown risk, right? Not everything is known. Things are evolving every moment. Look at AI itself. People are the one community. The big community, one large community is abusing it, using for wrong reason, right? Of course, a set of people are using responsibility, with full responsibility, but a set of communities are not, right? And also in a scenario where there are a lot of state-sponsored attacks, like
right,
you can pump more money to hit you, yet you may not allocate that much money to protect.
Right.
So, and the way we usually organize hackathon and all those things, some of those bad actors community also organize hackathon to attack to attack some specific sector in a specific country. It's like organized way of doing something wrong. So, and people have different motivation level, and as I said, some of them are state sponsored. So this world is changing a lot. I'm sure you must have aware about the dark web.
Right. Yes.
You know that I don't have to talk about. And listen, your mechanism to deal with that. It's like it's a fully organized way of doing wrong things, right?
Wrong things, right?
Yeah, this is going to be a challenge this year as well, with more and more threat vectors evolving. CISOs have to be very quickly translate this to a business scenario to obtain funding to do something which is really important. It's a huge challenge.
Thank you so much, Ravi. It was a pleasure to have you, and it was very insightful